In this episode on the 1986 Honda VF1000R Recommission project, we prepared the bike for its first engine run-up in 15 years. But before we can find out if it will run, we need to first install the rebuilt carbs from episode 2. The carb install on this bike is by no means easy, but it helps to first fit new soft inlet rubbers to have a fighting chance. Here you can see the original ones have gone hard and split, which would cause the bike to run lean. Here we can see the new inlet rubbers installed. It's extremely important to connect the throttle cables, choke cables and emission hoses before installing the carbs, as this will be impossible afterwards. Here you can see I'm installing the carbs without the lower plenum chamber, against the recommendations of the workshop manual, but I just find it easier this way. Start by pushing home the lower two carbs into the inlet rubbers. Then slightly tighten the carb clamps so they are just snug but not fully tight. Then you can push home the upper two carbs, if necessary using a piece of wood to leverage against the carb tops and the rear cylinder heads to fully seat the carbs into the inlet rubbers. But do not tighten the carb clamps at this stage. If you used my tie wrap method from episode 2 to hold the left and right bank of carbs together, you can now cut those and remove them. Unfortunately, I didn't record the fitting of the lower plenum chamber, but I do this by roughly aligning the carbs with the lower part of the chamber and starting the fixing screws from above between the plenum and the carb bodies. Each carb will need to be levered into position before you can start their relative fixing screws, but the inlet rubbers are flexible enough to allow this. And once all the screws have been started, you can then snug them down. And then bend over the locking tabs to prevent the screws backing out. Before starting the bike, there is a few other items to address. First, I install the OE exhaust system supplied by the client, along with new gaskets all round, starting with the 4x2 collector box and then the mint condition mufflers. I then replace the old spark plugs with a new set from Honda and finally check the fuel pump is pulsing correctly from the ignition coil signal. So with all the systems checks complete, it's time to see if our hard work has paid off. I have to say this is one of the most satisfying moments in any recommission project, to hear the bike run flawlessly for the first time in many years. The bike is fueling nicely and has a smooth idle, so now we need to balance the carbs. Using the Honda carb sync tool, I access the throttle adjustment screws underneath the carb bank and adjust each one individually until I have the carbs perfectly balanced. At this stage we are still waiting for the lower radiator to be repaired, so I focus on getting the rest of the running gear refurbished so the bike is ready to go. Okay, so we decided on the VF1000R Recommission to just tidy up a bunch of the fasteners and some of the brackets because, yeah, as we've said before, the bodywork's mint condition, but a lot of the fasteners had corroded just with the bike being stood still and condensation lying on it and stuff. So yeah, we decided, you know what, let's just freshen those up, and that'll just make the whole bike pop. So we've got a bunch of fasteners here done in bright nickel. We've got some yellow zinc, and then the rest of the fasteners, which would have been originally black from the factory, I used a Cerakote high temp bake coating, which is pretty durable, pretty much as good as pretty close to powder coat, but has nowhere near the thickness. So I much prefer to use the Cerakote for things like fasteners and stuff. So yeah, so that's everything now, pretty much done from a fastener and bracket perspective. So what I'll start doing now is bagging these up according to the where they go on the bike, and it means we can pretty much now start reassembling everything. I start by stripping the brake calipers, cleaning them, and then rebuilding them with new seals, hardware and pads. Then I strip, clean and rebuild the brake and clutch masters with rebuild kits from Honda. finally I strip and rebuild the rear brake master and clutch sleeve. I can now mount the resurfaced brake rotors to the wheels and install the wheels and calipers back on the bike. Okay, quick update on the 1986 Honda VF1000R Recommission, which has kind of turned pretty much into a light restoration, but the bike was in such original condition it justified it. So where have we got to so far? Yeah, we had the bike fully stripped down. First thing we did is take a look at the engine. This bike has not been on the road for 15 years, and I think the last time it was run was at least 12 years ago, maybe more. So we stripped everything down. The bike had been left with gas and in the gas tank, so all the carbs were gummed up, the tank was blocked. All the coolant, the glycol had separated and calcified or solidified in the water jacket. So we ripped the carbs off, did a full rebuild, ultrasonic clean, and then we had to flush out the coolant system, and in the end we had to use hydrochloric acid for that because whatever was left over after the coolant evaporated completely calcified in the small channels, but that worked well. So and then I kind of just stripped the engine. We didn't open it up, but we put all new O-rings and seals in the water system, all new seals in the oil system, cleaned it up. It looks really nice now. We pulled off all the front forks, all the braking system. We stripped down the rear, pulled out the swing arm and the rear shock. We rebuilt or refurbished the rear shock, basically changed out the fluid in that, which is about as much as you can do on these older shower shocks. We cleaned all the wheels up. We got the disc, I'll show you on the other side, resurfaced, back on the wheel. We rebuilt the front forks, stripped them fully down, rebuilt them, including the track system, anti-dive system. Again, I got the front discs, rotors resurfaced. They look really nice. So that's all back on the bike now. All new seals in the forks. They look great. Discs look amazing, resurfaced. I rebuilt all the calipers, fully stripped, and rebuilt all the calipers. Same for the rear caliper as well. Let's see, what else did we do? Yeah, there's the rear brake disc resurfaced. Rebuilt all the rear brake master, rear brake caliper. You can see there, all looks like new. When I pulled off the swing arm, I pulled apart all the swing arm pivot and cleaned that all, re-greased it. We took the aftermarket exhaust off. We put a proper OE exhaust collector on there and downpipes, you can see, all back to original, because besides the exhaust, the rest of this bike was extremely original. We've got some really nice OE mufflers that the client picked up. So they're on the bike now. Yeah, lots of small stuff. We replaced all the fuel hose. Right now it's running off the auxiliary tank, but we did manage to clean out the main fuel tank that's otherwise in mint condition. Yeah, and that's ready to go back on. But really, the last few days we've just spent getting this engine motor tuned perfectly. So we got the carbs back on, the rebuilt carbs, and then I've just balanced them, and there's a separate short video on the balancing, but they balanced beautifully, almost exactly aligned with each other, and the engines sound sweet. So looking forward to getting this back on the road after probably more than 15 years. And then, yeah, because the bodywork on this is literally mint condition, what we did is typical for a bike standing that long, all the fasteners that either rusted or tarnished in some way. So we pulled off all of the, let's say, external cosmetic fasteners. You can see here, completely refinished, replated all the fasteners, all the metal brackets. You can see here, we rebuilt all the foot pegs, stripped them apart, put replated fasteners in there. You can see, yeah, came out really nice. So cosmetically as well, you can see here, we redid all the fasteners for the track system and the rotors, all replated. Basically anything that's cosmetic, you can see it, we replated it, or if it was black, we ceramic coated it. So same here, look, you can see for the rear brake system, all the fasteners have been replated, refinished. Just looks amazing, really does. So I'm so happy with this build. It started off just as a kind of recommission. The idea was it was nice looking bike, but it'd been sat a long time. We really just were intending to get it back on the road. But as we pulled it apart, it just made sense why you've got it apart, to do these other little finishing touches, which once we get the mint bodywork on, is just going to make this thing pop. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful 1986 VF1000R. So I'm so looking forward to getting it finished and getting the first test ride done. But right now we're suffering with extreme wet weather in California, which is not a bad thing, but it means there'll probably be no test ride next week, but I'm hoping the week after. There is one issue because of just the condition of the coolant system. The lower rate, this has got dual radiators. There's a radiator up here. You can see there behind the headlight. That radiator tested out okay. We had to flush it, but tested okay. But unfortunately, the lower radiator has got a leak. So we're hoping next week we can get that fixed, because they're very rare, and most of the ones I've seen on eBay or wherever are look worse than the one we have. So fingers crossed we can get that fixed, and then yeah, we'll get this on the road. So that's it. That's the update. Well, we rebuilt all the brake masters as well. That's got all new kits in from Brake Master, and we rebuilt the clutch master, and that's all new fluid in all these. All the brakes have been bled through and they're working perfectly, same as the clutch. So yeah, very happy with the progress. I think we're going to button this one up in the next 3 weeks, and it's going to go back to its very, very lucky owner, and hopefully in time for some nice weather. Thank you for watching the videos.